I'm in hell. That was worth the blooper. That's probably the first one. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel episode review. You might think that after last week's interesting episode that I might be a little worn out. But no. There is a fire that burns deep within the soul of the Orange Ranger to exalt the good and ridicule the bad. However, I am not perfect, far from it. For example, how in the world did I do a nearly 40-minute review of Fan Frenzy last week, a Gold Ranger Focus episode where Levi was acting like a fool, and not use the phrase fool's gold once? That was an easy one. Anyway, it is right back to the grind as another week gives Super Ninja Steel another chance to redeem itself or to dig the hole even deeper. Let's find out which this episode did by taking a look at the 13th episode of Super Ninja Steel, Prepare to Fail. We start things out on the Warrior Dome, where some new guests that Madame Odious has invited have arrived. Be careful, guys. She starts out sounding all nice and everything when you get there, but soon enough she's holding you hostage for your own stuff. Just ask the remains of Venema. Anyway, this is General Tynamon and his top fighter, Brax. And my oh my, it turns out that Badana is quite the fangirl of Brax. What is it the kids say these days? She stans him? Anyway, as she fawns all over Brax, Tynamon steps in and tells her to back off. However, she pulls Tynamon aside and says that she knows his secret, and he'll shut up right now if he wants her to keep it. And he does so this must be a big deal. Meanwhile, the Rangers are in class while the teacher hands back part 1 of a math test. The Rangers seem to have all done really well, but only Sarah got a perfect A+. She says that she and Haley studied really hard, and the test was easy. The teacher, Mrs. Finch, I think, I know I said I'd remember her name because of the whole wedding ring scene, but I'm kind of forgetting it again, warns that the next part of the test is harder and that they should all come prepared. What school gives tests in 2 parts over 2 days? Again, this is something I didn't see. Maybe you saw it at your school and you can tell me in the comments, but I mean, it just didn't make sense to me. The only thing that really came to mind was maybe standardized testing, like the SAT, where one part is given one day and then another part is conducted another day. But not even that, really. The SAT is usually conducted in a single day. But it fits the plot, so I guess it's fine. Hey, look everybody, it's Victor and Monty. Do you heroes remember how I said last week that they had a pretty decent plot line where you ended up feeling a little bit sorry for them? I thought it was pretty decent, maybe even good. So, what are these two up to this week? They approach Mrs. Finch and ask if she got the fruit and chocolate basket they sent her. For goodness sake, is there a woman that Victor won't try and bribe? Funny enough, she says that she did, and it was delicious, and they both still got F's on their tests. Victor blames Monty for this, and what I really liked is that Monty goes, "Why?" But it's because Victor copied his answers. What kind of character is Monty supposed to be? I thought that he was a nerd, you know? Smart. Anyway, since Victor's obviously not doing any learning, Monty wonders how he can possibly learn everything for the test in just one night. But then he says he has an idea, smiling evilly and holding up a can of beans and a spoon. You know what? I don't want to talk about it just yet. We'll come back to it. So the Rangers are walking in the park and Preston is quizzing the others for the next part of the math test. Amazingly, this episode is not a Gold Ranger Focus episode, but does remember that Levi Weston is famous, as a fan comes up and asks him for his autograph, and then autographs for about her 24 or so friends. Levi is very gracious about this, saying he'll catch up with the others later. That's a creative enough way to get him out of the scene. So, Preston throws the next question at Sarah, and she's not even paying attention. See, she's looking up showtimes for a movie that night. She felt like the first part of the test was so easy, she doesn't even need to study for the second part. I wonder how long it's going to take for this supposed genius who can invent anything to realize that the first part of the test was so easy because she studied for it. The Rangers are just about to tell Sarah that she's an idiot when they see a buzz cam and prepare for battle. Previous rant about buzz cams, yada yada yada. Badana and Tynamon teleport down and confront the Rangers. The Rangers taunt Tynamon because they're kind of dicks if you think about it, but then he introduces Brax. The battle begins and we instantly see that something is off here. Brax awkwardly runs at the Rangers, waving his sword over his head like it's too heavy for him to carry. Then Brody jump slashes him and he blocks it, but then he drops the sword down, allowing the attack to get through. He flops to the ground dramatically and declares that the Rangers are just too strong. Badana's made over Basher bots fight the Rangers for a bit, and then they all retreat. Wow, that was as easy as part 1 of a math test! The Rangers tell Mick and Redbot about this back at the base, and the two of them agree that this doesn't really add up. Sarah's not really concerned about it, however. Just everything is turning out easy today. Her mentioning the math test reminds the other Rangers that they need to go study, but not only is Sarah not going to study for the test, she doesn't think they need to study for the test either. They tell her they're going to go study instead of seeing the movie because they don't have the focus episode Brain Flu this week. As Sarah goes to leave, Mick calls her over and asks her to explain a giant pile of red gadget mess sitting on one of his tables. Sarah says that she's working on an improved version of the Ninja Star Blade called the Super Star Blade. Mick points out that since, Sarah's not studying right now, maybe they can work together and finish it. Now. However, Sarah says in reality what I was joking about at the end of 2 paragraphs ago. If Brax is the worst that Odious has left, they'll be fine without the sword and she's going to the movies. Back on Galaxy Warriors, Brax is carted onto the stage looking weak and wounded. But no! Ha ha! You see, heroes, it was all a trick. If Brax appeared to be weak the first time he fought the Rangers, they'll let their guard down. And then when they fight the second time, he can wipe the floor with them. Because, they totally wouldn't find him being so weak strange and come to the fight prepared anyway. And don't you worry, Brax, I'm sure that you can wipe out all 6 Rangers in one attack so that they can't, adjust and start fighting for realsies. This is the best plan ever.
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
Heroes, I solemnly swear to you now, on the honor of the Orange Ranger, and I'm sorry if I touch my mic here, I swear to you that my recap of the next scene of this episode is presented 100% accurately. Everything that happened, all the text and the subtext, everything is as it actually was aired. I can hardly believe it, but this is just where we seem to be now. So Mrs. Finch hands out the second part of the math test. Sarah is absolutely flummoxed, even asking Mrs. Finch if she got the right test. Too bad, Sarah. You did. Wasn't this material covered in class? Sarah studied pretty hard for the first part of the test, making me think she's the kind of student who would have been at least paying attention to this material. Victor and Monty crack off their plan, blasting off a bunch of loud, raucous farts. What, Super Ninja Steel? No misty green clouds? But how are we supposed to know that the farts stink? But stink they do, and the two of them loudly proclaim that they cannot work in these conditions, which is something I'd imagine some of the actors were sorely tempted to say when they got the script for this episode. However, Mrs. Finch was prepared for this. That's right. The tactic of using farts to get out of class has become so common on this show that the teacher has prepared a countermeasure. Gas masks! She hands out a gas mask to every student in class except Victor and Monty, of course. She tauntingly tells them that they can leave now, but they'll fail this part of the test as well. They stay quickly scribbling down answers on the test. Those aren't words, let alone answers, so why are you bothering? Just leave. And go running out of the classroom, busting through the door, which the teacher says they're going to pay for. I'm in hell. That's the only explanation I can possibly come up with. Somehow, without my knowing, in the process of filming this review, I died, and my soul has been cast into the eternal judgment of having to review a show where multiple episodes contain farts as a plot point. This show where 24-minute episodes where every minute is freaking precious minutes are dedicated to hearing characters fart and then seeing other characters react to the smell. Where the teacher is so used to students trying to fart their way out of class that she has come prepared with gas masks and expects the students to put them on and keep taking the test like nothing is wrong. I can't, I'm Hatman. Alrighty, kiddos, who called the drumstick? This sparkling water is very cherry. You get a ninja star, and you get a ninja star, and you get a ninja star. Everybody get friggin' ninja stars! 1, 2, 3. Try the ninjas. You know they don't even use real chicken anymore. It's a genetically modified animal. That's why they call it KFC instead of Kentucky Fried Chicken and... Oh, wait. Spider game does whatever a spider game does. Does it swing from a web? No, it doesn't, because it's a video game. Look out! Here comes the spider game. To stop watching bad episode, spray directly into eyes. Well, here goes nothing. Look, everybody, now I'm well lit. How cool is that? I need a pen. Watch this. This stuff is literally great. Get in the ball.
Right you.
Get in the ball.
Right you.
You have to get in the ball.
Right you.
But you don't understand, Professor. The teacher handed out gas masks to the class. Wait, this isn't even a real phone. Yahoo! Ow. Ow! Hey, my head's starting to clear up. What the heck was in that, Kaizoku?
Pure distilled logic. We had a bit of an excess after the Hyperforce reviews.
Huh. Well, thanks. Let's move on. The Rangers leave class, dropping their gas masks off in the box and then walking through where the door used to be, like this is just another normal day at the Summer Cove Pool Hall. Sarah looks like she's seen a ghost. Maybe it's her actual characterization versus the one she's being forced to wear this week, saying that the test was really, really hard. The other Rangers didn't find it all that difficult and did rather well. This time, refreshingly enough, we don't get the moral of the day from Mick, but it actually comes from Mrs. Finch instead. Sarah exclaims how unfair it was of Mrs. Finch to put such a hard test after such an easy test. Mrs. Finch walks right up behind her, probably getting ready to tell the Rangers to clear out of the freaking doorway. She calls Sarah out on her BS, and it is just so delicious. She asks Sarah if she promised the class that this test would be easy. Sarah says, well, no. And Mrs. Finch says that sometimes tests are easy and sometimes they're hard. Just like in real life. I I do think this is still missing the point just slightly. It's more the fact that Sarah didn't prepare for the second test, rather than it just was more difficult than the first one. But it was still just glorious. I'm honestly starting to wonder if Mrs. Finch might be my favorite character in this show. Before Sarah can absorb the reality of the smackdown she just received, Mick calls and says that Brax is back. Brax? Anyway, Brax is maintaining the act 100%, all woe is me about Odious forcing him to fight the Rangers. They're so strong. I mean, seriously, can he just drop the act for a second and take some time to appreciate the scenery of the Legend War Gorge? The Rangers show up, and as is obvious to this plot and its moral, are all about how Brax is no match for them. He runs away, and they chase him. Why? He's not attacking anyone. Nobody's in danger. I mean, Brax is acting, of course, but the Rangers aren't supposed to know that, and that makes them out to be bullies as well as dicks. The Rangers tell Brax to stop, and he does, and begins fighting for realsies. Proving the point I made earlier, the Rangers figure out that he's gotten more powerful before they're even scratched. He uses some powerful attacks on them, and the Rangers realize that they're outmatched. Sarah calls her Zoom Zord to help them retreat. Brax taunts them as they leave, telling them to face him like true ninja warriors. Ninjas are known for being sneaky and not really standing around and fighting. You know, the whole smoke bomb and retreat thing? You might be thinking of samurai, Brax, but those Rangers were a few years back. At the base, the Rangers are just baffled at how Brax suddenly got so much stronger. They barely escaped this fight with their lives. I mean, you can tell by the way their clothes are perfectly pristine. There's not a drop of sweat, let alone blood on them. Their hair is all perfectly in place, and you can especially tell how vitally close this battle was by the fact that they weren't even demorphed during the fight scene. Sarah gets the slightest little bit of credit for her intelligence, although really it could just be because it's her focus episode, as she's the one that figures out that Brax has been playing them from the start. And then, with Mick apparently tired of being the one to deliver the moral all the time, maybe just tired of me making fun of him for it, Sarah handles that part herself as well, saying this is just like the math test. Shut up! Nobody cares about your stupid math test right now, Sarah. Gloriously, as Sarah relays the advice that Mrs. Finch gave her, you know, the advice that almost everyone in this room was there to hear the first time, Calvin says, great! Does Mrs. Finch have a way to defeat Brax? But no, of course, Sarah is now inspired to study for her math test. Oh, right, sorry, I got that mixed up. Sarah is now inspired to work on this week's toy. You remember, this one. By the way, I got this on sale at Target for like $9 like 6 weeks ago. This toy came out way too early if this was going to be the episode it premiered in. And it doesn't make any sound when you spin the star. And yes, it is on. The idiocy virus is spreading. On the Warrior Dome, Tynamon has dispatched every buzz cam Odious has to try and find where the Rangers are hiding. Brax is ready and waiting to beat the Rangers down once again. Man, if there was only some way that you could make Power Rangers show up. Like, I don't know, teleporting into a city and doing some friggin' damage. As the Rangers complete some kind of choreographed training exercise, Sarah debuts the Super Star Blade. She is directly asked what makes this thing so special. It's stronger! And it can use the Lion Firestar to make the blade all fiery. Cool? Preston drops another tiny, admittedly moral hammer on the audience, telling Sarah that all this prep is about to pay off. The Rangers run out into the open and are immediately detected by a buzz cam. Brax says that he's going down to destroy the Rangers this time, and he teleports up? Seriously, the beam envelops him and then he travels upwards. That makes sense when they're down on Earth, but on the ship, shouldn't they beam down? Anyway, he confronts the Rangers again, and they have another short little battle where it's not really as much about their choreographed techniques as just wearing him down. Sarah then places the Lion Firestar on the Super Star Blade and activates it. Oh man, heroes, you know what this means, right? Lion Fire Pink Ranger. Let's see it, show. Or let's not see it, because all that happens when she does this is the blade lights on pink fire and she slashes Brax up. And then they do a super steel finisher with her using the Superstar Blade. Woo. Cosmo doesn't even let the audience get a vote this week, deeming Brax unworthy of Gigantification and going to send a Skullgator instead. But, of course, fangirl Badana is not going to let that happen, stopping Cosmo and hitting the Gigantifier anyway. Brody says they're going to need 2 Megazords to take down this monster because of reasons. Him summoning the Ninja Steel Megazord and Levi summoning the Blaze Megazord. I was kind of expecting Levi to pilot the Blaze Megazord by himself, but interestingly enough, they split the team evenly instead, with Brody, Calvin, and Preston, hey look, it's the red, yellow, blue thing, in the Ninja Steel Megazord, and Levi and the girls in the Blaze Megazord. Brax holds off the 2 Megazords for a little bit, but they quickly gain the upper hand. Badana then goes ham with her standing, slamming the Skullgator button 4 times before Cosmo can stop her. My Zordon, Brax and 4 Skullgators? How in the world are the Rangers going to handle? Brax immediately leaves, saying that he's going to watch this from the ship. How is Gigantification reversed, especially when it brings a monster back from the dead? Anyway, it's just the 4 Skullgators now, and that makes things significantly easier, seeing as these are the grunts of the giant Zord fights. I did like how the Rangers finished them off, though. Brody fires up the finisher, and then the Megazord cycles through all of the auxiliary Zords, which we haven't seen in a long time, doing each of their finishing moves. Back at the school, Victor and Monty work on the door as Mrs. Finch walks out of the classroom. Sarah stops her and apologizes for her attitude. She even points out how in her math textbook, she's been studying really hard. So next time, she'll be ready. Mrs. Finch is impressed with her change in attitude. So impressed, she's going to let Sarah retake the test the next day. You know what? I'll get to that in the pros and cons. Now, we just saw Victor and Monty, so maybe you thought there wasn't going to be a comedy wrap-up for this episode. Oh, you sweet summer child! Of course there is! Having now finished the door, Monty is starving, so he tucks right back into some more beans. He says it'll be fine, but of course it's not, and his flatulence is so explosive, it blows that new door right off its hinges. Star. Episode 13. Prepare to fail. Pros, Brax has an intimidating look, and the finisher blitz was a nice touch. Cons, Sarah is shoved out of character to serve the plot. The villain's plot was stupid and fart humor. Friggin' fart humor! You might think this episode gets a higher score than last week because it has 2 pros instead of 1. Sorry, but no. Prepare to Fail gets a 1 out of 5.
You lose! Good day, sir!
I like Brax's look. Kind of, in a way. Okay, he's all pointy and sharp angles and all kinds of random colors that looks thrown together. But something about that look just works. He has a cool sword, and I just found it really believable that he was a tough warrior. And that blitz through the auxiliary Zord formations was kind of neat. I actually really liked that. It was nice seeing those Zords again because, believe it or not, I had just within the past week been thinking that it had been a long time since we'd seen the auxiliary Zords and how we would probably never see them again. But here they were, even if it was just a quick moment for each of them, and probably now we'll never see them again. But let's take a moment to talk about Sarah, shall we? This studious, energetic go-getter of a student. The girl that's smart enough to invent a machine that turns vegetables into tasty cookies. The girl who invented another machine that made holographic clones of herself. And you're trying to tell me that she got an A+ on one test and was all, screw studying. I'm gonna go see Catch the Train 6 or whatever it was. No! This is outside of her character, and I'm getting really sick of this. You can write stories where the Rangers learn the moral of the day without violating their characters in the process. I realize that it just served the Sentai footage of a Pink Ranger Focus episode, but seriously, give this story to Calvin instead. He's not necessarily that smart. He's a grease monkey. He studies really hard for the first test with Haley, gets an A+, and goes, maybe I actually am smart. Forget about studying. I'm gonna go work on Nitro. It's just that there is so little characterization in Ninja Steel that it is frustrating to see the writers violate that characterization for the sake of a single episode. Just stay consistent. And then, to top all of that off, she learns the moral of the day and gets rewarded for her failure. She basically failed a test, said she was really sorry, and got another chance to take it. Screw that! It was just one test. No, not even half of one test. She can tank one bad grade and learn a life lesson. Credit where credit is due. This time I saw a real effort to link the human moral of the day and the Ranger villain plot. Unfortunately, this is not something that Ninja Steel is good at doing. The villain's big plan was to act weak so the Rangers would take it easy next time and he could defeat them. You know, I actually thought of another flaw in this plan besides what ended up happening. What if the Rangers, instead of standing around mystified, had gone straight to their finishing move? Brax would have either had to have blocked it and revealed that he wasn't that weak right from the beginning, or, at worst, nothing about Brax's plan made sense. And you know, the fact that Mrs. Finch had gas masks ready for Victor and Monty's farts represents my biggest problem with that whole plot line and why it's listed in the cons. It's been done. You did this joke already. Think of something else. I mean, you know it's a tired gag if the writers are even going, okay, well, the teacher would be prepared for this, right? I mean, she knows it's coming. Now, I'm actually hesitant to lay the blame for this at the feet of the writers anymore, as it's coming out more and more at Power Morphicon and from other sources that not only the more comedic direction of the show in general, but the fart humor specifically were directives from Haim Saban himself, things that he was insisting were included in the show. If that is actually true, it's really sad. I don't like hearing that about a man that I have a lot of respect for, but at least it does make sense and explains why Chip's writing had supposedly declined to this degree. It also gives me hope that the move to Hasbro reducing Saban's role in the show will get us away from all of this junk for Beast Morphers. Well, after 3 episodes in the 3s, we're back to 2 1s in a row. But we actually have a big reason to shake that off. 2 reasons, in fact. The first is that episode 14 is going to feature a very special guest. Someone who, if you look at any Ranger news on the internet, you already know about. Let's take a peek at the 14th episode of Super Ninja Steel, Sheriff Skyfire. Madame Odious asks Sheriff Skyfire to fight the Rangers who stole the Ninja Nexus Prism. The sheriff realizes that she has lied to him and decides, as an officer of the Space Police, to fight alongside the Rangers. So, what's the other reason that this episode is going to be special? It's going to be special to me personally, actually. So I hope that you will tune in next week to watch my 100th Power Rangers episode review. Until then, that's going to do it for the 99th Orange Ranger Videos Power Rangers episode review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. Make sure to like the video by clicking that like button right down below, the big thumbs up. In the comments below, let me know what you thought of this episode, as well as my review of it. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see all of my videos, and ring that bell, get your notifications set up so you are notified of whenever I post brand new videos, just like these Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel episode reviews. And if this is another bad episode review that you found entertaining and you'd like to donate to me financially for that, you can head over to digitaltipjar.com/orangerangervid, toss a little bit of tip change into that jar, and I'd be grateful for anything that lands inside. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. My hand is off the screen. Ah! She knows his secret. And if she doesn't want him to see, however, she pulls Tynamon aside and says that she knows his secret. And oh God. But not even that really. The SAT is usually conducted in a single day. But I guess it fits the plot. Hey, look, it's Victor and Monty. Do you heroes remember how I said last week that they had a pretty good plot line that I thought, They approach Mrs. Finch and ask if she could move. He's very gracious about this, saying he'll catch up with the others later. So the Rangers are walking in the park and Preston is quizzing the others for the next part of the math test. And then autographs for about her 24 or so friends. Oh my gosh. He'll wipe the floor with them. Don't worry, Brax, this is a great plan. Yeah, that doesn't work. Back on Galaxy Warriors, Brax is counted on to count, even asking Mrs. Finch if she got the right test. So Mrs. Finch hands out the second part of the math test, but from Mrs. Finch instead. Oh shoot. He uses some powerful attacks on them and the Rangers realize they're outmatched. And it doesn't make any sound when you spin the star. Is it on? Where's the freaking switch? Oh, there it is. And yes, it's on. And that blitz through all of the auxiliary Zord formations was neat. I kind of liked it. This studious make sure to like the video by clicking that big thumbs up button right down below. And yep,